This afternoon we're going to learn Daf Zayin. We're holding by Rabba Rabbi Yosef. So in the Mishnah we said a machlekes Beishami and Beisilal about miyun. Can miyun be done for nesuin? That means not just the betrothal, but where they were actually fully married. Can the girl? Oh wow! Can the girl just walk out of that marriage? Just like that. So Beishamai says no. Beishamai says miyun only applies to erisin, only to a betrothal. Beisil says that it can even apply to a nesuin. The Gemara asks, what's the explanation for Beishamai? So Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, because if we would say that someone could walk out, that a girl could walk out of a nesuin, then we would say there's a concept of a tanai in a nesuin. We would think, why is this? How did this marriage end? There was a condition on it. What was the condition? Condition was that the condition was that there's no mumim on her. Let's say so that there's no blemish. She has no I don't know, birthmarks or something. Then it turns out that she has. So we would say that the nesuin is over. But the truth is that there is no such thing as a Tanai nesuin. Now, why not? Why is there no Tanai nesuin? The explanation is because the chibas bia, when he's living with her, he forgoes on all the conditions that he made, and he accepts her as she is. So there's really no Tanai in nesuin. Now, if we would say that a woman can walk out of a nesuin with miyun, then we'd say, how's she walking out? It must be because there was a Tanai. And the truth is that there's no Tanai. Okay, so that was the explanation for Beishamai according to Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel. That's his teacher. What was Beisil's explanation? Beisil says everyone knows that when it's a child, the marriage is ending because of miyun, not because of a Tanai and a nesuin. That was obvious. It's a little girl. Everyone still knows that there's no Tanai in nesuin. So how did this girl just walk out of the marriage? Because it was miyun. Rabba Rabbi Yosef, that's where we're starting today. You see that? Rabba Rabbi Yosef? It's on 107a. Rabba Rabbi Yosef Damri Tarvayu, they both say, Taima de Beishamai. What's the reason for Beishamai? The Beishamai says that, it's on the page, one page. A little bit more, that's Rav Papa already. Rabba Rabbi Yosef, it's in the middle of the second paragraph on page 256. We have a problem here. If a woman can walk out of a marriage, a full marriage, she could just walk out. How's she walking out? Because we're saying that she rejects, she was a child, and a young child that's married by her brothers is able, it's only a rabbinic marriage. So she's able to reject the husband. She can just walk out on him and say, I'm not interested in him. I don't like him. Then she could just walk out. Then that would mean that the husband, all the relations that the husband's had with her was really znus, was not appropriate. It was what's the word? Licentious behavior. It wasn't
when they're married, not just.
This is even when they're married, because retroactive. She walks out on the marriage. It means the whole marriage was nothing. Now, since a person doesn't want to have such behavior, so he's not going to end up marrying her. Why did the rabbis institute that there should be such a marriage in the first place?
To protect her, probably.
Because she doesn't have a father. Her father passed away. Her brothers are marrying her off. They want her to be married.
Yeah.
They think she'll be safer married than not married. So they wanted to institute the marriage. But since no one's going to want to marry her because she can walk out, so then what did they gain by this whole institution of the marriage? So therefore, Beishamai says that the marriage is there, but it's only a betrothal. But she can't walk out on the full marriage, because then no one's gonna want to. If she would be able to walk out on a full marriage, then no one would ever marry her. So she can walk out of the betrothal, but she can't walk out of the full marriage.
But today I was reading on the computer. Then in Sudan, it's like the 5th largest nation for child marriages, and they marry or if the fathers marry off girls for like 100 cows, and an educated girl, they can get as many as 500 cows. I mean, it's like it's a whole different.
Yeah. And now in modern times, it's like the patriarchy. It's all flipped on its head. It's all frowned upon. I think.
No,
marriage
this is
like an evil
now.
institution.
This is now.
I know, but
Where's the question?
That's a traditional country.
The Gemara has a question. The question goes like this.
Here in America, that's all.
Nichnas l'chuppah. Let's say there was the chuppah, but there wasn't an actual relations. The chuppah was just they brought her into his house. So it's not it's more than the erisin. It's a full marriage. Beis Shammai still says that she can't walk out on it. The problem is, why can't she walk out on such a marriage? There was no bia. She should be allowed to walk out on a marriage until there's bia. And it seems from the Mishnah that it's only from the erisin, not from the chuppah. If the whole logic, right? If the whole logic is that he's going to avoid the marriage because she's going to just walk out and it's going to be a problem to him that all his relations would just be a snus. So here there were no relations, so she should still be allowed to walk out. So the Gemara says, he doesn't want to have a chuppah of Isser either. He wants that the chuppah, he should be allowed to have relations that will end up being appropriate. Not that they will end up being not appropriate because she's going to walk out and then retroactive, everything was just no. Whereas another question, let's say it says Ha'av, it merely means the brothers. Give her over to the messengers of the husband. That means that the husband didn't really even take her in yet. But nevertheless, the Nesuin took place because she was handed over to the husband's messengers. You can marry a woman with a shliach. So of course, there's no relations there.
Is the shliach ever considered a t'nai? Because if the shliach doesn't pass it on to the husband, then it doesn't end up. So it's out t'nai that the shliach hands it over.
I think there's two types of shluchim, but I think this would be that she becomes married just from, I don't know where exactly the marriage takes place, when she gets back to the husband, or automatically from the leaving the father's house into the hands of the shliach, or leaving the family's house into the hands of the shliach. Maybe that's the marriage. If that's the case, so what is the concern over here of Ein Adam Ma'aseh Bilas Nus? It's just the shliach. She should be allowed to do miyan from that point on also. When it says Leiplag Rabbanan, any marriage, they just established that she cannot walk out of a marriage. She can walk out of a betrothal, but not a marriage. That's Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel, what does Beis Hillel say? Kivan de kedushin ksuba layaslamim de bilas bilas nus. Beis Hillel says that this man has a totally different approach. He says, if I'm doing a marriage, and later on you're going to retroactively tell me that the marriage was not really a marriage. He says, but the fact is, I did everything according to the law. He doesn't consider that bilas nus. He's not going to avoid such a marriage, even if she's going to be able to walk out, because he's going to say that, look, we had a ksuba, we have a kedushin, we did it according to the halacha. What happens after is that retroactively it goes back. He's not worried about that. He did it correctly. In other words, we had a problem that maybe he's going to avoid marrying her, which would upset the whole institution. So we're saying no, he's not going to avoid anything. Rav Papa has another pshat. We're up to interpretation number 3 of what's the pshat in Beis Shammai that says that there's no miyan by nesua, a woman that's fully married, a girl that's fully married. Rav Papa says time of the Beis Shammai mishum peri, and time of the Beis Hillel mishum peri. They both have the same reason. But you see, this in Chassidus, it says this, that you can have something that's logical, but that's one logic could be pulled to both sides. The example that it gives is from by Noach. Hashem says he's going to destroy the world because Ki Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Min Ha'orav. And then he says, I'm not going to destroy the world because Ki Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Min Ha'orav. The same logic is like it's not their fault. The same one is, what am I doing with this world? This look at what people behave. And then after the flood, he says, "Look, what can you do? People have that tendency."
Every
You know,
coin
so
has two sides.
It's two sides to the same. Anyway, so Rav Papa says that the fruits is a reason to say for Beis Shammai, and the fruits are a reason to say for Beis Hillel. What are we talking about? Fruits. Problem over here is that she brings property into the marriage. The husband is allowed to benefit from that property. So, time of the Beis Shammai, Mishum Peri, Di Amrit Nesuat Timayan. If we say that she can walk out of the marriage, so what's the husband going to do? Shamet v'achalumina. He's going to eat up everything before she leaves. At any moment, she could leave. He's just going to, take everything that he can. So we say that she can never walk out. That way, take it easy. She's
Oh,
here
is that
to
what they
stay.
want? Is that like the intended consequence?
He's
or are
gonna
they
end
saying
up-
it's a discouragement?
He's going to end up ruining the property because
Right.
she's going to leave. And so he's going to just take
Oh.
everything and not care for it. So
Possible.
we say that she can't leave. The safe, the make bakam, because she's going to leave. So that's what he's going to do. So what does Beis Hillel say? There's a risk over here. If she's allowed to walk out, then maybe the husband's going to mistreat the property. It says Adarab, even the Amrit Timayan, because she's allowed to walk out, he's going to treat the property much better. Because Savar Dilai, if he doesn't treat it well, the relatives are going to give her advice and say, you should get rid of him. Look at the way he's treating the property. He's a no good Nick. So therefore, that itself is the reason that he's going to treat the property well.
This is property.
Nechse malog.
We're not talking
No,
about the metal calves, whatever.
It's nechse malog. It's property that she brings in that he eats the payros from that. Like, let's say it's fruit trees
So
or
it's
something.
not this, what did you,
Barzo,
stone?
the iron sheep.
Iron
Iron
sheep.
sheep.
No, it's not the iron sheep. We're not talking about the iron sheep. Iron sheep, he has to pay. He has to pay anyway. Exactly the price that it came in at. That wouldn't make a difference. Okay, so we did Rav Papa. What was that? Number 4. That was 3. Rav Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rav Papa was number 3. Now we're up to number 4. Rava. The order here has a problem. There's a problem with the order. Rav Papa should not be before Rava. Rav Papa is a student of Rava. Yeah, it's a problematic order. I don't have an explanation for this. Yeah, I don't know the answer. Okay, Rav Amar, Haina time of debate, unless there's comments on these another Gemaras. I didn't see anything. Rav Amar, Haina time of debate Shammai. What's the reason? Shein Adam Tayrech Besuda Mafsida. Person's never going to get married because a wedding, there's a whole feast over there. He's going to make a feast and she's going to just walk out on the marriage. That's not a good investment. It's just going to be a big verbringen.
Is there a dowry with these rabbinical marriages?
That mean that she's going to bring in money. Yeah, well, she is. She's bringing in the nechse malog.
Yeah.
That is a type of dowry.
Why is that not in Barzo?
Nechse in Barza would be that they evaluate how much it is at the time when she brings it in. He has to pay that price exactly what it is. Nechse malog is he could eat it and she just takes it out, but if it gets worth more or less, that's her loss. Right. That's what we were saying, that if the marriage is long-term, he's going to want to keep it good. But if it's not in the long-term marriage, he doesn't care how it stays, right? So that was the concern over there.
What I'm asking is it designated at the time that this underage girl enters into this relationship?
Yeah.
What the property is that she's bringing in?
Yeah.
So it could be some of both.
Right. There could be Nechse in Barzel as well. We weren't discussing the Nechse in Barzel because that didn't concern us in like how he's going to treat it, because that he has to, that has a price on it. So he doesn't want to ruin the meal if she's going to just be, not ruin the meal. He doesn't want to spend money on the meal and then she's just going to walk out. What type of investment is that? You make a big wedding, and then she walks out the next day. She says, I was just hungry. So, Beis Hillel, what does Beis Hillel say? That's a problem, right? So Beis Hillel says, Tarvayu nichalu. No, they both want the wedding feast because of the presents, right? Because they want people to know that they're married. They're going to be living together. The wedding feast is important. Everyone should know. It's a way of letting everyone know that this is a couple. So they want it. And so Beis Hillel is saying that he's not so concerned that he's gonna be wasting money on the wedding. He wants the wedding. He wants it. Bishamai Yom Rebal. Next, Bishamai Yom Rebal. Bishamai says that miyun could only be performed on the first husband, not if the husband passes away, not on the yavam. She can't walk out of the yavam. She can walk out on the first husband. Yisrael says she can walk out on the yavam.
Does she initiate chalitza? Does she say, I don't want to marry you?
We said before that she can. She does have a right to say she doesn't want him. Even though he's the one that says that, but she can also, although Yibam is Balkarcha, you know that Yibam is Balkarcha. If he has relations with her, even if she doesn't. But I think we said at the beginning of the Masechta that she has a right to say that she doesn't want this marriage. I think
Even
so.
though she's a minor.
Yeah.
Oh, so we'll see. Now we'll see. Let's take a look at
I've been
this.
wondering.
Now the minor is another issue here. Let's see. The minor is an issue. So Amar Rabbi Shia. Rabbi Shia explains, what does Beis Shammai mean? Yibam is Balkarcha. If he has
She
relations.
really doesn't want it. It sounds like rape.
Yeah, rape would end up, she would end up being the wife, even in rape, even if he rapes her. Yeah, I forget where is it. Daf Daled, we said that she has the right to say no. That's a big problem. Somewhere over here.
Was it Divrei Rav Scotus?
Okay.
Supreme Court.
I'm a Rabbi Shia. Mema enes la'ma'amar avinu mema enes l'zikasei. Rabbi Shia is explaining Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel says that she can walk out of the second marriage. She can walk out, the husband passed away. She's still a child. The brother is there that's going to do Yibam. She can walk out of the Yibam. Now, what does it mean she walks out of the Yibam? She walks out if the brothers did mimer, she can walk out from the mimer. In other words, usually a mimer, if she doesn't end up doing the Yibam, if they're going to separate, right? So then the mimer is going to require a get. So the mimer, the mimer, the miyun will avoid the get, that's what miyun is. Miyun avoids a get. It's walking out without a get. So Rabbi Shia learns that what Beis Hillel means is that she doesn't need a get if the rabbinic kedushin took place. Mimer is the Yevamos kedushin. It's not a biblical kedushin. So miyun will take her out of the mimer, but the miyun won't take her out of the zika. She still has brother. Miyun means she rejects. Miyun is the walking out of the marriage that a child can do.
Yeah.
And the mimer is the rabbinic marriage. And the zika is the attachment that she has. So the miyun won't dissolve the attachment, but it will dissolve the mimer.
So
Okay.
the other brothers still have
The other brothers will still have to
Someone
take
has
care
to
of
do
that.
a chalitza.
Right. Someone's going to still have to do chalitza. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda explains the explanation of Rabbi Shia. It's not so pasha. This is just one of the opinions here. Rav Chisda explains the explanation of Rabbi Shia. My time of the Rabbi Shia. Maimer demidaita. What is Maimer? Maimer is she accepted kiddushin. he came over to her, the brother comes over to her, the husband's brother comes over to her with a ring, gives it to her, and she accepted it. So she accepted it willingly. Now she's a minor, so her consent is not really a consent. She's a minor.
So does only a mimer perform miyun? Is that?
No.
I'm just trying to-
Miyun,
okay.
what happens is like this. A girl, her father passed away.
Yeah.
So she's a young girl.
Right.
So the brother or the mother marry her off to some fellow.
Mhm.
Okay, just to keep her off the street.
For you.
So no, her father passed away.
Oh,
So the brother and the mother just marry her off. You know, they're taking care of the family. Everyone should have a place to stay. So she gets married to some guy. Anyway, if she wants to get out of that marriage, she does not need a get.
right. Yeah. That's
She
but that
she
term
does
is
miyun.
Okay.
She does miyun. Now this guy died, and now this guy has a brother or two, and one of them goes over to her and gives her a ring, which she
That's
doesn't need to.
not-
Which should have been yibam, but he gave her a ring, which is called mimer.
Right.
She can say, I'm out of this.
Okay.
Walk out. She does miyun on the mimer. She doesn't need a get from this brother. Now, what's the reason? Rav Chisda explains, very interesting. She did the mimer with her own intention. And her own intention, the way the Ritva explains this, is that her own intention is quite weak because she's a minor. She's a minor that does mimer and that accepted the mimer, and now she's doing miyun on that. So since her intention is weak, she can walk out of it, right? Matziakra, she can uproot it. Zika, but the attachment that she has to the brothers, that was not her choice. That's balkarcha. Matziakra, she can't walk out of that. For that, she's going to require chalitza. Well, the truth is, the original marriage was with her consent. The original marriage was with her consent. So if she could walk out of the original marriage, then it would work. But she's not walking out of the original marriage. She's walking, according to her, but she's walking out of the second marriage. And the second marriage was not with her consent. So how does she just walk out of it? It was balkarcha the same.
How old is she at the time of the second marriage?
She's still under 12.
She doesn't have the right to be a mine when she's under 12.
No, Mian is only under 12.
So she has to wait to be 12 and then she can say, hey, I want that. I want
No, she doesn't have to wait. She walks out even if she's under 12. Only, I think once she's older 12 and she still is married, I think then she needs a get already. That's how it works. Mian is only if she's still under 12. The Gemara has a question on this. 1 second. What are you telling me? That she can walk out of a marriage only if that marriage was midaita, only with her intention. But if the marriage is balkarcha, she can't walk out of a ribiya de balkarcha. But think about a regular marriage that she has. And in this case, it would be the yavam. The yavam. Now, the yavam, remember, if he lives with her, he has relations with her balkarcha, then she becomes married to him. Now, that was not her consent. That could have been even balkarcha. And nevertheless, balkarcha, or matziakra. According to Beis Hillel, she's allowed to walk out of a yavam. How is she allowed to walk out of a yavam if it's balkarcha? What are you telling me that that mimer can't be done to Zika, just to walk out of the whole attachment and say, I reject this whole, I don't want any of these brothers. She can't walk out of that because that's balkarcha, that attachment. So the bia is also balkarcha, and she is allowed to walk out of that. There's a problem here. The Gemara says, "Elabia mimer hu the huka of it matziakra, zika derachmana ramel le matziakra." She can walk out of things that he does, but she can't walk out of things that the Eibishter does. So the Eibishter put on her the attachment to the brothers. She can't walk out of that. But if they do a yibam or if they do a mimers, that she can walk out of. That was man-made. So far, that's the explanation of Rabbi Shia, that she's walking out of, she's rejecting something that was done to her, something that was performed on her. Ula Amar Memena Safla Zikasi. Ula says she can do miyun even to the attachment. What does that mean? My timer. How could she do a walk out of the attachment? Just me and on. I don't want any of these brothers. Nesui kamay kakra. She's not walking out of the brothers. She's walking out of the first marriage. He doesn't exist, but she can still do mian on that. Okay, he's opening up the door to a lot of questions. This is going to be problematic.
Doing a great job on that.
Esvei Rava Ula. Rava has a question to Ula. Remember, Ula was the traveler. He came from Eretz Yisrael. Says like this: Kol she'achol l'moin v'le'miana tzarasa chiletzes v'le'mis yabemas. Talking about, there should be 3 travelers over there. There's in this chart. There's Rav Dimi, Ravin. There should be an Ula somewhere. Ula, they put him over here just to confuse us. They put him down over there. But those are the travelers. These 2 traveled this way. Rabbi Zera and Rabbi Yirmiyah traveled this way. Rabbi Elazar also traveled that way. But he's associated with Rabbi Yechon. Yeah, they could put them in because they lived in different places. It's up to them. No, there were travelers that went back and forth. There were others that just they moved. Not that they were travelers. They moved. Okay. So Esrei Ravalu Kol Shechel Mein V'Leimin Tzrasach Letzes V'Leimis Yabemes. The beginning of the Masechta we had the husband passes away, and there's brothers there. He has brothers, and his wives or one of his wives was related to one of the brothers. So we said that brother cannot do, let's say it was his daughter. Let's say Reuven marries Shimon's daughter. Now Reuven passed away. So Reuven doesn't do Yibam. Reuven's dead. Shimon doesn't do Yibam on any of them. They can't marry his daughter, and he can't marry the tzara of his daughter, the co-wife of his daughter. That's what we said. We said that let's say Shimon's daughter was a child, and she walked out of the marriage before Reuven passed away. So then Shimon can already do Yibam on the tzara. His daughter walked out of the marriage before Reuven passed away. Then it says, Kol she'achol l'man v'lo miyana. But if she didn't do the miyan, then is there really a relationship here between Shimon and the wives of Reuven? Not necessarily. There's only a rabbinic marriage because that daughter is married, but that's not a real marriage because she's a child. The question is, how is Shimon alive? And it's only a rabbinic marriage. You have to work it out that she was married once and she was divorced and then she gets married again. There's a way of that is still a rabbinic marriage even though the father's alive. Okay, so that's what the Mishnah says. You can only do chalitza, not yibam, over there, because there's a rabbinic marriage. A relative, Shimon, is related to one of the wives. It's his daughter. Rava asks, why doesn't Shimon's daughter walk out of the marriage now? I know Reuven's dead, but according to Ula, she can walk out of the marriage even with even of the deceased husband. So let her just walk out, and then Shimon will do yibam on the other one. Why can't the yibam be performed when she walks out now? The Gemara answers tzara serva shiny. Over there it's a tzara serva. The truth is that if there was no erva here, there was no close relative and a forbidden marriage and all of that, then she would be able to get out of that marriage and she would be able to get married without chalitza because she walked out of the first marriage. Over here, our issue is that there is a relative here. And when there's a relative, so then she can't walk out because it's a tzara serva, it doesn't look right, and it's a problematic situation. What's going to happen? The tzara is going to end up marrying Shimon, and then really she was a co-wife. There's other issues. The Tani Rami Bar Yecheskel, because Rami Bar Yecheskel taught Mian Ababal Muteris La'aviv, B'Yava Masur La'aviv. let's say Reuven marries this girl, and the girl walks out on the marriage. She's allowed to marry Reuven's father, Yaakov, because she was never married to Reuven.
Wow.
But let's
And that's,
say,
through Zika, both have Zika.
no, she just walked out without the Yibam, without Yibam. But let's say she didn't do miyun on the husband. She did miyun on the Yavam. So then Asur Laviv, then she's not allowed to marry Yaakov. Alma, why is this? B'shas nefila nearest kekalasa, yachanam b'shas nefila nearest ketzaras pitay. It looks like it's his daughter-in-law.
Right.
It appears to be his daughter-in-law at the time of Yibam. And therefore he's not allowed to marry her. And so now we go back to our case, which is Shimon, that she could walk out of the original marriage to Ruvain, and then Shimon should be allowed to the Tzara. We say, no, it doesn't look right. It looks like Tzaras Bitai, that Shimon would be marrying the co-wife of his daughter that was married to Ruvain, who had passed away. Okay. So far, two interpretations of Beis Hillel. Rabbi Shia, that she can walk out on a mimer, but she can't walk out on the Zika. And Ula, that she can even walk out on the Zika and say, that's it. The whole original marriage is dissolved, and she doesn't have any reason to do chalitza at all. She can just go get married. Yeah, it's rejecting the husband walking. Amar Rav says, "Mi ana bazeh asur lazeh." Rav says that if she did miyun to, let's say there's a few brothers, the Shimon and Levi, she did miyun to one of the brothers, then she's not allowed to marry Levi. If she does miyun for Shimon, she's not allowed to marry Levi. It must be following the opinion of Ula that she can walk out of the marriage. Midi dahavi abaylas get. Just like if she would have done, if she would have given a get, if she would have not given, if she would have received a get. If one of the brothers gives a get, then Yibam can never be performed on any of the brothers. Baylas get lav kiven the itzul lachad itzul lekulu. She becomes forbidden to all the brothers. Hachanami leishna. This is like a get. She walked out of the marriage. She rejects it. Shmuel amar mi'ana bezeh muteres lezeh. Shmuel says no. She walks out of one brother. She says, I don't want to marry this guy, but the other one I can marry. So, it's not similar to Bailas get. Bailas get, who the ka'avid ba? Hacha he ka'avda ba. Who he ka'avda bay? By the get, one of the brothers gave her the get. But here, she's the one that's rejecting him. So it's different. She can choose. The brother would be representing all the brothers. And once she gets a get, then there's no more yibam. But she is choosing, I don't want this one, but she can still decide and be specific. I want that one. I don't want you and I don't like you. How do they translate Savina Bach? Tzavi. It is, I'll agree. Tzavi is agree. I don't like him and I don't agree to him.
This is
to you, you're saying.
I do not desire you and I do not want you.
Want. Tzavi is to want.
This is even after the first husband did with Dia and everything.
Yeah, the first husband, yeah.
Uncover
brother's wife.
wife.
Yeah. So what's happening here is that the brother passed away. So there's a din of yibam, at least the rabbinic yibam. And so she can still walk
I thought
out.
there was Mian that they were already married. Isn't Mian when they're married and no one passed away?
Well, now we're mixing all of that together. That there's Mian even when one of them passed away, and then there's the Yavam. And she's doing Yibam on the Yavam. And then there's another Yavam there, another brother. And Shmuel is saying that she's allowed to marry the other one, even though she rejected this one. Yeah, we're throwing all the ingredients in the same pot. Rav Asi Amar Mian Abasem Mutar Safilu Lai. She can even marry the same one that she did Mian to. Yeah, she walks out of the marriage, and she can still marry him. Let's say that he holds like Rabbeishia. What did Rabbeishia say? That she can't do Mian on Zika. So that why is she allowed to marry the person that she just did Mian on? Again, she's the wife of Reuven. Reuven dies.
Right,
She's
yeah.
still a child.
Okay.
So she says, I don't want to marry Shimon. So
Oh.
Ravasi says she's allowed to marry Shimon. She can change her mind. So he said maybe that's because what she said that she doesn't want Shimon, that Mian that she did is nothing. Gemara says not necessarily. Could be. The Gemara says no, not necessarily. Maybe Ravasi doesn't hold of Rabbeishia. Ravasi holds that she can do Mian to a Zika. But you can't do Mian when there's two brothers because she's rejecting only one of them. That becomes complicated. If there would be only one brother, then she could say, I don't want him. And then Mian would work and she's out.
Well, one of the brothers was
Yeah.
her first husband.
Well, two brothers left. Surviving two brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, there are three brothers in total. So if there's three brothers, the first one died, that was her husband. Now there's another two. Over there, a Mian doesn't work. And that's why Ravasi says that she can marry not only Levi, but she can even marry Shimon, even though she did Mian, because Mian to Shimon is nothing because there's still Levi there. But if it would been an original case where there would just be Shimon, there is no brother Levi, and she would have done Mian, that would have been a real Mian. She would have walked out. In other words, Ravasi doesn't necessarily agree with Ravashia, even though in this case, it turns out that it would be Ravashia would agree with Ravasi, that the Mian is nothing.
That doesn't mean she can't have multiple husbands that have, that are brothers, right?
Well, she could have multiple husbands, one after another, if each one dies.
Oh, okay.
Then she
So
would
no,
go.
there's no polygamy in there.
Not at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Right. Kiyasir Rabin Amar Rabbi Yochanan. You remember Rabin? He's the traveler. He comes, he says the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Mian Abasem Mutar Slachen. If she rejects the one brother, she's allowed to marry the other brothers. Who said that? Shmuel. But the sages didn't agree with Ravin. I don't know if they didn't agree with Ravin or if Ravin is saying that the sages didn't agree with Rabbi Yochanan. I'm not sure. It doesn't tell me who's saying this. But who is it that doesn't agree with this? Amar Abaya Rav. Abaya says it's Rav. Because Rav said that she's forbidden to the brothers if she does Mian. Rav compared it to a get. Rava Amar Rabbeishia. Rava says that it's Rabbeishia because Rabbeishia, over here, it's because there are brothers. According to Rabbeishia, she would be permissible even to him, even if there were no brothers. And that Rabbi Yochanan and Ravin didn't tell us. Ramila Ravasi. And some say that it was Ravasi that said this because Ravasi said that she's only permissible to the brothers, but not to him. I'm sorry. Ravasi said that she's permissible to the brothers and to him. And Rabbi Yochanan didn't say that she's permissible to him, just to the brothers.
2 minutes.
Okay. Leave it over here.